So, you've built a fantastic business. Your product? It's solid. Your delivery is on point. But when your sales team walks into a meeting, does your brand really feel as good as it is? Look, a lot of businesses struggle with this exact same thing. Today, we're going to walk through a step-by-step framework to close that gap for good and start selling with soul. Let's dive in.
We actually have a name for this. It's called the Great Product Paradox. And what it means is you're losing revenue, not because your product is bad, but because there's a disconnect, a gap in how you communicate. It's a super frustrating place to be. But here's the good news. It's completely fixable. You just have to change the approach.
This paradox really breaks down into three, let's call them invisible gaps. First up, you've got the story gap. This is when your team is stuck selling features and price instead of the bigger vision. Then there's the tool gap. They're using these, boring, uninspired sales decks that just don't connect. And finally, there's the confidence gap, where your newer team members hear one little objection and they immediately get rattled and drop the price.
So how do we fix this? How do we bridge these gaps? Well, the solution is a framework called Soulful Selling. And no, this isn't about some cheesy sales tactics or manipulation. It's all about mastering human connection. It's about selling with empathy, with real intelligence, and with genuine persuasion that builds lasting trust.
Okay, so step one of the framework. This is absolutely crucial. You have to diagnose the problem before you ever prescribe a solution. The single biggest mistake most salespeople make is they just jump right into their pitch. You've got to earn the right to speak, and you do that by listening first.
A really powerful way to structure your listening is with what we call the C4 questioning model. You start off with context questions just to get a feel for their world. Then, you dig a little deeper with concern questions to find out where the real pain points are. After that, you ask consequence questions to gently help them see what happens if they don't do anything about it. And finally, you wrap up with confirmation questions, which gets them to state the value of your solution in their own words.
All right, once you truly understand their problem, the next step is to uncover why they're actually going to buy. Look, people don't buy features, they buy solutions to emotional needs. So the real key is to figure out what's truly motivating them, their core purchase trigger.
And that's where the power cache model comes in. Think of yourself as a detective. As you're listening, you're looking for clues. Are they talking a lot about burnout or stress? That's problem solving. Do their eyes light up when you mention a limited time offer? That's opportunity. Maybe they're driven by a need for VIP treatment. That's ego and status. Or maybe they're laser focused on long-term ROI, which is worth and value. As soon as you nail their primary driver, you can tailor your entire message just for them.
So knowing their why is huge, but to create a real, genuine connection, you also have to speak their language. And that brings us to step 3. It's all about adapting your communication style to match their personality.
You really have to think about who you're talking to. If they're an analytical type, forget the fluff. They need the hard facts, the research, the data to feel good about a decision. For a controller, you need to be direct, be confident, and get straight to the bottom line. With an amiable personality, the key is to slow down, build that rapport, and really focus on trust. And then, if you're with an enthusiast, you have to bring the energy. You got to match their excitement. Matching their style, it just makes them feel seen and understood.
Now let's be real. Even with an amazing connection, you are going to face resistance. Objections happen. So step 4 is all about handling them. But here's the twist. Instead of seeing objections as rejection, we're going to reframe them as an opportunity for a deeper conversation.
So let's tackle the classic, the one that makes most salespeople freeze up. You are too expensive. What's the next move? Do you just immediately start talking about discounts?
The typical response is, panic. You drop your price. And when you do that, you just suck all the value and your own confidence right out of the room. The soulful approach is totally different. You don't argue about price, you reframe their entire belief system, and you shift the conversation from cost over to value. The goal is to give your team a whole new script, a new playbook that reframes the conversation. So instead of getting defensive about the price, you pivot to the outcome. You might say something just like this, turning their focus from what it costs to what it's worth. That simple shift changes the entire dynamic of the conversation. And that brings us to our final step, presenting your solution. Now, the key here is a massive mindset shift. Your company is not the hero of this story. Your customer is. Your role is to be the expert guide who helps them win the day.
And you can see the difference perfectly right here. The old, ineffective hero pitch starts with about us and our company history. Let's be honest, nobody cares. The effective guide pitch, what we call the problem solver deck, starts with the client's problem, shows exactly how you solve it, and then provides proof that you've done it before. See? It's all about them.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, this entire framework isn't about learning clever tricks or tactics just to close a deal. It's about learning how to systematically build and scale trust with other human beings.
So, I want to leave you with this one simple question. The next time you walk into a sales meeting, ask yourself, are you there just to sell a product, or are you there to build trust? Because that answer, that's what's going to define your success.